The Whiz Kids had won it, Bobby Thompson had done it, and Yogi read the comics all the while. Rock and roll was being born, marijuana we would scorn. So down on the corner the national pastime went on trial. We're talking baseball, Klazuski, Campanella, talking baseball. The man and Bobby Fella, the Scooter, the Barber and the Nuke. They knew them all from Boston to Dubuque, especially Willie, Mickey and the Duke.
Button, so what does it matter?
Actually, I just hit it right now. So, welcome back to the Project Gen X podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Alan Smith, along with
I'm the other guy, Big Dave.
And I'm Barry.
And on this episode,
We're talking about an episode that I really don't.
We're going to be
have
talking
a dog
about
in the hunt on.
the supposed, the one-time national, or
That's my I spilt my coffee. I'll be right back. Go ahead, talk.
we're going to be talking about the one-time America's favorite pastime.
Still one of my favorites.
It's not what it was, though. It's, we're talking about baseball.
Of course.
Football overtook it a while back. The NBA was poised to take it over in the 90s.
Well, and
then,
NHL tried, and it didn't
but
exactly catch up to it.
that's, you and I, actually all three of us here are NHL fans. But yeah, it's, the NHL is still, hockey in general is still considered a Canadian or European sport. That's kind of, hey, look, I'm glad that hockey has made the inroads that it has over the last 2 decades. But it's still got a long way to go. Hey, it's not soccer, okay?
Wow. Well, Nashville got a soccer team, too.
We don't talk about that communist
I
sport.
know.
We don't talk about
It's so funny. The World Cup happened. I have no idea who won. I have zero clue.
It was in
whatsoever.
Qatar. Who cares?
Yeah, I know.
It's the World Cup.
Yeah, it was kind of one of those things where it was like, hey, the World Cup's coming on. I'm like, oh, wait, it's January. World Cup's over. Who won? Who cares?
I guess you're talking about that thing my wife was watching.
I guess.
This past
You know,
couple of months.
The most interesting thing about the World Cup was all of the controversy that happened with where it was at, more than anything else.
Yeah,
I really couldn't tell you that anything else about it, but then again,
there's been plenty of events, both sporting as well as entertainment events or whatever, that the surroundings or the story, or with us, with wrestling, the backstage events are more.
There you go. There you go.
Are more noteworthy than what actually happened in the ring.
Are we talking about that sport where they hired all these immigrants to come in, and then once the job was done, they revoked all their visas and shipped them back out of the country without paying them? Is that what the sport
was that
we're talking
soccer?
about?
I was about to say, I don't know
Dude,
where you're going.
all
with
you
this,
got to
bro.
do with soccer is go and look at all this World Cup, like a lot. Like what was it in Brazil when they had the World Cup? What was
they
it 15
lost
years
their
ago or
damn
whatever?
minds.
Yeah, and the thing is that they basically went into a rainforest and cleared it out and built this thing. And it's been overtaken by the rainforest again. Like, it hasn't been used since.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Olympics.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like all that
No,
stuff.
legitimately,
like,
though,
fuck it.
in Qatar, they hired all these immigrants to come in and build all the stadiums and do all the work and all this.
Mm-hmm.
And they were going to pay them all this money. And in the second everything was built, they revoked all their visas and forced them out of the country without paying them.
Does not surprise me in the slightest. So it's
It was a major news story at one point.
Oh yeah, like I said,
Does not surprise me in the slightest.
And let's be honest, baseball is not without its controversies over the years, as you might be able to say. But there's one thing that I when we were talking about this that always kind of hold true is the baseball movies and TV shows and things like that were really oriented, because that kind of puts it in the best possible light.
There's like 2 movies, right?
I'm going to.
Oh no,
There's like only 2 movies.
no.
I'm going to say this. I can think.
There's 3. I forgot about the Sandbox. There's 3. There's 3 baseball.
Sandlot.
Sandlot, whatever.
Talking about the best baseball movie ever, and I'm going to say that right now. Okay.
Ooh, that's a bold statement. That's a bold statement. We'll get into that.
I'm much more interested in
And let
going
me tell
to the
you why
park.
you're wrong.
I'm much more interested in going to the ballpark and watching a baseball
agree.
game
Oh, hands down.
I agree.
Hands down.
than watching a film about the sport.
There are portions. See, there are things that I think that are really special about baseball movies, because, and most people, when they have those connections, they usually have it with a parent or someone else, with with me, it was my dad. My dad and I loved to watch baseball movies together. And whether it was, Tiger Town, whether it was Bang the Drum Slowly, whether it was Eight Men Out. Yes, we will not speak of that movie. But,
Speak of which movie?
we'll bring you up to speed.
Yeah,
later.
that's.
I feel like this is going to be a wrestling episode. For me.
No, not at all. Because
we're going to suggest some really good movies that you need to watch.
I'm probably going to be the unpopular one on this episode, which I'm used to at this point.
Sports movies in general.
Yeah.
Okay, that is one of those that people who don't like sports will watch sports movies.
Oh, yeah.
And they all say the same thing. It's intriguing.
Yeah.
Not only
the story's good.
Engaging. The story's they usually have that feel good moment in them. All that kind of stuff. And it's like, sports movies and sports documentaries especially.
Oh yeah.
Which we're not even going to get into sports documentaries.
No.
We're just talking about actual like scripted movies here,
right?
And television. I guess I can only think of I know
there's one television show that I am definitely bringing up
that's
here.
fine.
I'll even lead off with it if you want.
So we're talking about Rocky, right?
No.
Wow.
Let me just start off with one of my first baseball memories.
Okay.
All right. Saturday morning.
Oh, the Johnny Bench.
The baseball bunch.
Yes, absolutely.
Man.
I watched it every Saturday morning.
Oh, I thought of a fourth.
San Diego Chicken was on there. Yeah.
Bad News Bears
From 1981 to that.
There we go. I finally
that
thought of a fourth one.
That is 1B. Okay. 1A and 1B we'll talk about here. Okay.
But the baseball bunch, 81 to 85, hosted by Johnny Bench. Mm-hmm. And I think later it was hosted by Tommy Lasorda.
Lasorda came on later. Johnny Bench, and there was a bunch of kids, and they would have different baseball player, stars come on usually.
Oh, I have a list.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I have a list.
But I do remember that was kind of my first introduction to the San Diego Chicken.
Yes,
because the San Diego Chicken was just like all over that show.
Well, and as it's been mentioned before, we're based here in Nashville, and unfortunately, Nashville does not have a professional baseball team.
No, but we do
for
have
the MLB.
Sounds,
but we do have minor league baseball, and have for pretty much our entire lives
since the late 70s.
Yeah,
I think the first season was 79, if I'm not mistaken. 78.
I enjoyed going to watch the Sounds at Old Greer Stadium.
It's
not even there any longer.
I have been to the new stadium once, and I have not been back.
Yeah, well, there's extenuating circumstances around
and it's
that.
mainly because that's the night my dad died.
Yeah,
we got called away from the game to meet.
Way to bring the show down, Dave.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying. You're the ones who brought up baseball. My last good experience with baseball was not a good one.
I know.
But that's something that I think, we all have had some type of a memory of going to a Sounds game or a minor league baseball or something along those lines. And a lot of these movies and TV shows that we're going to talk about kind of bring out that feeling that if you've never been to a minor league game,
the minor league games are actually
I cannot recommend it enough.
We're talking
baseball. Zuski and Benella Company. Yes, and the Simpsons part of that was
the softball.
Epic.
Yeah,
but check this out. These are a few of the players that were on the baseball bunch. Okay, that would make a little appearance. Now this is a half-hour show, mind you. So the format would go. They would go through with Johnny Bench, and it was all about like baseball drills.
Absolutely,
they were kind of teaching him how to throw and how to catch, and
and the chicken would get into some kind of
the chicken
trouble,
would somehow engage into something with it, and then you had like the wizard would show up.
Oh yeah,
which
as a wizard
was usually Ozzie Smith.
Yep, that's
the Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz, that's right.
And
who I got to watch play multiple times with my St. Louis Cardinals.
See, there you go. There you go.
Ozzie Smith,
Ozzie and Lonnie both played on the same team.
Ozzie Smith.
Until Atlanta bought my World Series Cardinals and moved them to Atlanta, and then screw the Braves.
Yep.
You're still hurt. But check this out.
Ozzie Smith. Before we get to that,
yeah.
Ozzie Smith was one of those guys that people like us who watched him will just are amazed by him. Okay.
Yep.
People who didn't see him will look at his stats and be like, "Oh yeah, he was good." He's like, "No, you don't understand.
You don't understand.
He wasn't just good. He was good from the time he entered the league until the time he left the league.
Yeah.
There was none of this like, oh, he started off okay and got good. It was like, no, he came in good, and he did not have much of a drop off when he finally said, "Okay, I've had enough."
Right. So check this out. These are some of the guys that were actually on this show: Sparky Anderson, Dusty Baker, George Brett, Gary Carter, Andre Dawson, the Hawk. Thank you, Cubs fan. Raleigh Fingers, Steve Garvey, Goose Gossage, Keith Hernandez, Don Mattingly, who has a little special place in my heart because he went to minor league. He played minor league in Nashville.
I had a Goose Gossage baseball card at one point.
There you go.
I don't know where it's at.
Do you know why Goose Gossage was on that show?
mustache.
San Diego Chicken was trying to figure out who his favorite baseball player was, and they all had like bird names, and so it wound up being Goose Gossage.
I think Larry Fittich.
Yeah, there were several of them. He was going through a whole list of like all these people that had like bird names.
Here's a few names you might know: Cal Ripken Jr.,
Yes.
Pete Rose, Mike Schmidt, Ted Williams. Yes, that Ted Williams. And the last name I'm going to throw out here, you guys may know who it is, you may not. Al Hrabosky. Now, Al Hrabosky was one of my favorite pitchers to watch just because he was referred to as the Mad Hungarian. This is the man that inspired Wild Thing Ricky Vaughn.
Oh, yeah.
He had this nice habit of when he would get on the mound, he would turn with his back to the pitcher, start grinding the ball into his mitt just to get him good and pissed off.
The pitcher would turn his back on the pitcher?
Turn his back on the batter.
Okay,
yeah.
just
throw the ball in, and he would just pound the ball into his glove and just grind it in there and just get himself angry. So angry when he'd spin around, he would shoot daggers through the batter, and it used to scare the hell out of people. It was fun. It was so much fun to watch. Mad Hungarian.
Too bad they couldn't have got Rusty Kuntz on there. So. That's a real dude.
Yes,
his name was Rusty, and his last name was Kuntz.
It was pronounced Kuntz.
Very, very famous ball player now because of the name.
But there was actually talk of trying to.
There's no taming you.
There's not even try.
None.
You can't stop him. You can only hope to contain him. Anyway, there's actually been talk of trying to rebirth the baseball bunch, which
That's cool.
is one of the few rebirths I would support. You know, I think it's a great idea.
Who do you have to do it, though? It's obviously not going to be Johnny Bench now.
Albert Pujols, which I could see doing that. And instead of the San Diego Chicken, they're going to get the Philly Fanatic.
Okay, well, here's the thing. This is what I'll say about that. There is no one currently in baseball that is as beloved as Johnny Bench was and still is. Okay?
Arguably.
Yes, I mean, that is... Again, you're looking at a different time.
Yeah.
And Johnny Bench was beloved.
Part of the Big Red Machine.
Even if you didn't like the Cincinnati Reds, you loved Johnny Bench. I mean, that, we all remember his Rust-Oleum commercials. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
No runs, no drips, no errors, But, yeah, it just, I don't know. I mean, that's one of those things that, again, I like the idea of it. Yep. I don't know that...
You might get better ratings at this point if you called it the Football Bunch and did football stuff.
I mean, but I like the idea.
You know who should host it? Terrell Owens.
Wow.
No, I'll tell you who should host it.
Randy Moss?
No. Terry Bradshaw.
Yeah.
Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders, one of the most beloved human beings, left the game.
But nobody's funnier than Terry.
Okay, you're not wrong.
Yeah, actually there is.
Terry
Actually,
would make
there
it
is.
fun.
Pat McAfee.
Oh, God. Moving on.
Yeah, go ahead and move on.
I'm not going to let him go down that road.
I'm just saying.
Go ahead and move on.
All right, baseball movies.
All right.
We're going to bring it in. Alan's got his list. I've got
mine
pretty much.
Okay,
organized.
here
We're going to let Dave start since he's only got like 4.
I've got 4. The Bad News Bears, Major League, Field of Dreams, Sandlot. Those are the 4 I've got.
Those are 4 good movies.
Those are solid.
Those solid movies.
Those are the 4 that I've got.
Okay.
The rest of them,
and we're going to come back. We're going to come back and talk about all 4 of those movies individually, but we're not going to start off with them because.
When we started talking about this episode, Alan goes, "No, there's all kinds of movies." He started listing off movies. I was like, "Nope, I haven't seen it. Nope."
All right,
nope,
look, I'm going to start with what I consider one of the top. It's not just a great baseball movie; it's a great movie.
Okay.
8 Men Out.
I was just about to say that same thing. One of the biggest controversies in baseball
all about
history.
the Chicago Black Sox.
It's
shoeless
about
Joe Jacks.
about a team from
World
Chicago.
Series.
Who cares?
Yeah, about them throwing the World
About them,
Series.
you know all about.
Yeah,
them.
I know
Shoeless
the
Joe
history
Jackson.
on it, yeah.
Which again goes back to the whole Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams,
right?
yeah.
Stellar movie.
Oh, absolutely.
Stellar movie.
Well, it's shot well. It's a great story.
Well,
it's a
great
period
story.
piece.
Wasn't that a Ray Liotta?
No,
that was
John
Field of
Cusack.
Dreams. Sorry.
John
Cusack.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember who else was in that. But there's a ton of people in it. But it felt like you were in 1919 when this was going on.
Right.
I mean,
it's got one of the greatest codas.
Yes.
On it, because it's like after all this, they're all found guilty, they're all banned for life from baseball.
Yeah.
And then it cuts and it says it's some place in New Jersey, 1925. So it's 6 years later.
Yep.
Okay. And his guys, it's a minor league team, is playing ball, and these guys, and one of them says something about, hey, that love is the left field.
Left fielder.
He's like, left fielder is playing awful shallow. He's going to get burned out there. And guy rocks one, and he catches it back at the
It was Shoeless Joe.
Yeah, and then somebody says, "Hey, is that can't be him?" It's one of those things where they're kind of going back and forth.
Yeah.
Is that Joe? No, his name's Brown. Blah blah blah. And then everybody's like, "You ever seen him play?" Blah blah blah. And then Cusack his character is sitting there. He's like, "I saw him play once," and he's sitting there and he knows it's. I mean, it's one of those things he knows. It's one of those things he's going through. He's like, "Yeah, man, he was the best. He could run. He could catch. He could hit. He could blah blah blah." He's like, "That ain't him. He's been gone a long time." And it's one of those things. Now, one of my favorite things that comes back into that.
Yep.
Because it's a powerful scene. The way that Cusack plays this, it's very. I mean, like
You're talking about the court scene?
no.
Okay.
But I'm talking about that scene.
Oh, yeah.
That particular scene where he's like, just the look that Cusack has on his face while he's giving the speech, and he's smoking, and he's just like, and it's one of those things where it's like you see in this character.
Regret,
forlorn, all of
just
the lost potential of
what
could have been, all this kind of stuff,
and
him just being like, no, that's not him, he's all gone, I mean, just kind of one of those things. One of my favorite things that I did not realize it, or I when I saw it when it initially aired, I was like, what is that from? I was like, I know this was something. And years later, it hit me. There's an episode of Married with Children.
Oh God! Oh, where
Al is playing softball, and it's one of those things where he winds up hitting like the home run that wins the game. Of course, they didn't want to put him in, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then it says, whatever years later, and it's him out playing, and there's an old guy, and Ian Ziering is the other guy that's sitting there. He comes up, he's like, "Man, who is this center fielder?" And he's playing, basically doing the whole thing, and they're like, "Nah, it can't be. Is that Al Bundy?" And then you hear a voice. It's Peg, and she's like, I saw him play. Oh yeah, he could do everything. He could run. He could sell shoes. He could hit. All this kind of stuff. She goes, that ain't him. He's all gone. And he does the same thing because at the very end of 8 Men Out, Shoeless Joe Jackson, he hits what should be a double, but he legs out a triple.
Yeah.
And he turns around. He does this where he tips his hat because that was the thing he did. To the crowd.
Yeah.
And Al Bundy makes a spectacular catch and then turns around and does the hat tip out to the I'll post it because there's actually a YouTube video that puts them both together where you can see the whole thing.
Oh, nice.
But that movie, I know that's getting a little bit of weeds there, but that movie, especially if you know anything about
hands down
all of that happened, because the thing is that that was over 100 years ago,
right?
And that is still being litigated in a lot of ways, especially among baseball fans, because there are some things where it's like, yeah, they took money, but they didn't really do what they were accused of doing, and
that's the problem. They can't prove it.
I know that they never could prove anything, and that's kind of what happened with the whole court case, where they were like, we can't prove anything, but you're all banned for life.
Speaking of that type of taking money to throw a game type thing is going to go into my pick on the first one.
Okay.
I actually wrote a paper on this in college.
All right.
This is how connected I am to this movie, The Natural.
Okay. What was the guy's real name in real life?
Roy Hobbs.
Roy Hobbs, based on. Okay.
I can't remember the character.
Isn't this a Robert Redford?
Robert Redford and Glenn Close is in it.
Well, Robert Redford, Glenn Close, Darren McGavin.
Is it?
I've got 5. Bull Durham. I forgot about Bull Durham.
So we'll get to that.
We'll get to
that. We'll get to that. I liked The Natural when I watched it back in the 80s when it was released. I have watched it since. I don't like it quite as much. But that score.
Oh yeah.
The score for The Natural,
Silvestri, I think did that
has been used in all kinds of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Anytime ESPN does anything baseball related, they wind up using that score.
Right.
I mean,
it's kind of the Big Chill for baseball movies.
Kind of in a lot of ways.
Not exactly, because with this one you have it almost has kind of that Clint Eastwood hero out of nowhere coming to save the town type feel to it.
In a lot, yeah.
When Roy Hobbs comes in there, and the thing that I loved about it is you took all the baseball cliches that you've heard over the years,
right,
and it actually did it. Knock the cover off the ball.
Right.
Well,
That's in there.
He hits the ball so hard, he literally rips the cover off of it. He busts the scoreboard. Anytime you see anything where scoreboard where the fireworks are going off and everything,
And the sparks.
that's from the
and all that.
natural.
It all
Yeah.
comes back to the natural.
And the whole idea of it almost has kind of a King Arthur feel to it.
There
too,
is, because it starts off, he's this hot young baseball player, and
Yep.
he gets shot.
He gets shot by what's supposed to have been the Black Dahlia.
Is that what it was? Okay, yeah, okay. So he was basically
Because he was a pitcher.
Yeah,
He started off as a pitcher.
Started off a pitcher, and he got shot, and the bullet lodged in his
spine.
He couldn't pitch any longer without having, because the bullet would rub against type stuff. So he becomes an outfielder, and he can swing and it's one of those things that the ending of it is very ambiguous about what happens.
And again, the ending of the movie is totally different than the ending in the book. That happens a lot in these types of movies, but both of them are spectacular, and I cannot recommend them enough.
I still love that scene because he's got the what did he name his bat?
Wonder Boy.
Wonder Boy. That's what it is. And he's got this bat.
He named his bat after a loaf of bread.
No,
this happened before Wonder Bread.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
but
with a lightning bolt on it too.
the whole thing with the Bat Boy.
Yep.
Where he takes the
Savoy special.
swing.
Yep.
He takes the swing, and it's a foul. It's a long foul. He hits it hard, but he breaks his bat. And the kid's got tears in his eyes, like whatever, and he just tells him, he's like,
Go pick me a winner.
Yeah.
And he brings back the bat that they made together.
Right.
So.
And it's one of those it's one of those movies, if you sit down and watch it and you don't shed a tear, then you don't have a heart. Okay.
This is true. This is Brian's song for baseball.
It really is, because
don't you compare this to Brian's song? What is wrong with you?
Well, all right. Give me your baseball pick then, brother.
I've already told you the 5 movies I know.
Okay, so pick one.
Pick one. Which one do you want to talk about?
I like Bull Durham.
Okay.
A classic.
All right, first off, before we get into this,
You got to talk about the train running through the outfield.
Let me ask you a question. How many baseball movies has Kevin Costner done?
I know of at least 2.
4 or 5? Because he did that.
Hold
he
on.
did.
Well, it's this one in Field of Dreams.
Okay, but okay.
Those are the 2 I know.
Okay, no.
I only know 5. I only know
4.
5 of
Okay,
these.
I knew it was
4.
Yeah.
He did Bull Durham.
Yeah.
He did Field of Dreams, and he did a movie called.
Wasn't For the Love of the Game. That
No,
was
it's
Quaid.
called Catching.
Wait, I might have actually seen that one.
Yeah.
Hold on. It's called Chasing Dreams.
Chasing the Dream. Yeah.
All 3 of those movies came out within a year of each other.
Yep.
Okay, and then he did For Love of the Game in the early 2000s. Okay.
See, I like Bull Durham because it's kind of that rugged,
It's minor league baseball.
minor league baseball, doing what you got to do to get through.
Well, it's Kevin Costner at his most Kevin Costner.
Here's
too.
the fun thing. My dad, when he was a kid, was a bat boy for a minor league baseball team out of Kinston, North Carolina.
Okay.
They played the Durham Bulls.
Yep.
Because the Durham Bulls are a legit.
Actually,
Yeah.
the Durham Bulls make appearances in 2 movies.
Yes, yeah. I am not as big a fan of Bull Durham as most people, because I think the baseball stuff is really great, but I don't care anything about all that off-field stuff.
And that's fair.
Really?
Yes. I don't care anything about the whole Susan Sarandon plot. I don't care any about it.
See, and I kind of like the fact that she has the Church of Baseball. That's really
I
kind
get
of interesting.
That.
Yeah.
The whole
You
that the
know?
Rosary has the same amount of beads
Right.
as a baseball season. And
scenes.
yeah, all that stuff. So I mean, it's cool, but it's not one of those movies that I'm going to go back and rewatch.
It's not a super big baseball movie, but it's a fun flick to watch.
Okay.
And it's to me it's hard to find another movie that would personify minor league baseball better than Bull Durham.
I get that.
And that really is what kind of hits home.
Oh, you don't mean like a Major League 3 Back to the Minors?
Oh God.
No.
Bakula?
No.
Bakula?
Terrible. Terrible.
And Ted McGinley? Come on. It's like
Well, see, it's the Ted McGinley rule.
I know, he
You
comes
put
in
Ted
and everything
McGinley in
goes to
it goes to
hell.
shit. Yeah.
Swear jar.
Yep. All right, Alan. What's your next pick?
okay.
I know it's so difficult. There's so many.
It really is.
Give me an oddball one. Give me that one of your top 5. Just something is special to you, that speaks to you, that's baseball.
Oh wait, we were going that deep.
Oh, we're going way deep.
I don't.
I'm going to go with the Slugger's wife.
Oh,
Okay. Rebecca De Mornay. I can't even get it. Rebecca De Mornay.
That's the only reason you watched that. It was for her.
So the thing that I loved about the Slugger's wife is,
and she plays in a band. And it's good. Actually, a really good movie.
And it was actually filmed in Atlanta Fulton County Stadium.
Yes, it was.
That's the thing that
was,
that was rare for that time.
Right.
Usually they would put it in like a minor league baseball stadium or something along those lines.
Let's put it this way, Dave. It's one of those movies that if you catch it on like a Saturday afternoon, nothing, you're flipping through the channels, it's on, you sit there and watch it, you're like, hey, this is kind of nice. It's not going to make your top 20 baseball movies.
Nowhere close. Nowhere close. In fact, most people don't even know.
Yeah,
was it Michael McKean or whoever the lead was in it? I want to say it was the same kid from Caddyshack, wasn't it?
Let me pull it up here.
Right. You guys are not convincing me to watch any of these.
We will get to.
It's a good flick.
Okay. It actually really is, because
everybody talks about The Natural. That's one of the reasons why I haven't seen it. Is like everybody's like, "Oh, this is such a great movie."
Michael
like,
O'Keefe.
Thank you.
Is his name. Randy Quaid's in it.
Oh God.
But you guys aren't really
Loudon Wainwright III.
Hey,
you guys aren't really doing anything to convince me that I should watch any of these
all
movies.
Right, then I've got one for you. I have one, and all I have to say is one name, and watch the smile that comes across this man's face. If I say the name Henry Rowan Gardner, Rookie of the Year.
Oh, okay.
I love this movie.
Monkey Butt Love.
Did you just say monkey butt loving?
Movie. Okay, look, that movie is cute. I like it. I've seen that movie more times than I probably should have for the age I was when it came out.
I mean,
but it was one of those things where it was fun. It's a funny movie. It's fun.
You have Daniel Stern.
Yes.
You have Gary Busey. You have John Candy. I mean, and a kid with tendons too tight in his arm, so they make him a pitcher.
That's the whole.
Well, the thing, and again, Cubs fan.
And I wish I could remember that kid. He was in the.
He's been in a couple of things.
Well, he was in the American Pie movies.
Yes,
but he was also in other stuff. He was a kid in King Arthur's Court.
The thing that I adored about this is in Wrigley Field, and it was filmed in Wrigley.
Yes, it was.
There is a tradition that if the opposing team hits a home run and you catch it, you throw it back on the field. Well, in this case, the kid had surgery on his arm. His tendons were too tight. He caught the home run ball. The guy is rounding second, heading to third, and he throws it, and it ends up in the third baseman's glove.
Yeah. And that's why they're like, hey, what's going on?
It's like, bring me that arm.
It's a kid's movie.
It is, but
it is,
and so many of these are. I mean, there really are. You could make the argument that
baseball is a little boy's game. I mean,
it's either kids' movies or dad's movies.
And there's nothing wrong. I'm not saying anything about it.
I like going to the baseball game.
Yeah.
I like going to watch baseball at the park.
And Daniel Stern in this movie was hilarious.
Yes. He's playing one of those off-kilter characters.
I feel like I need to make this known right now. I am not bagging on the sport of baseball.
Okay.
I love baseball. I'm a St. Louis Cardinals fan. Screw you, Cubs fan.
My Reds. Come on.
We play y'all in the division, but I really don't have any hatred.
That's because we've been bad for over 30 years.
Even when you guys have beat us, I haven't really been,
Right.
Okay.
That's rivalry. That's not hatred. I hate the Cubs.
Well,
So hey, at least you're not a Sox fan.
Yeah, exactly. We can all agree on that.
Agreed. Or Yankees.
I don't hate baseball.
My dad is a huge Yankees fan.
I love baseball. I don't. I'm more interested in going to watch the game than I am watching a movie.
No, it's completely different.
What's your next movie, Dave?
Well, you're killing me, Smalls.
Oh, he's going big. He's going big.
I said it. I am going to maintain.
Okay.
I believe that The Sandlot is one of the best baseball movies.
Absolutely.
Because everybody can relate to
absolutely.
this movie.
Absolutely. And that is, I think it came out, 93, 94, somewhere in there. And it's one of those things where really the only notable person or the two notable people in the movie is James Earl Jones.
Yes.
And Dennis Leary.
Yep.
Everybody else,
we've
seen some of the other kids appear here and there.
Karen Allen. Karen
Allen is the mom. That's true. But the kids, as far as none of them really went on to do much of anything big anyway. I mean, there were some people like the catcher was in The Big Green. He was in a few other. He was
a lot of kids movies.
He was in a bunch of stuff over there.
Yeah.
But it was just like you would see somebody pop up every once in a while. Oh yeah, there's that kid from whatever.
But everybody has done the backyard baseball thing.
Absolutely,
everybody.
Not just backyard, empty lot baseball.
Right, and it's not just that.
If
It's
you can
also
find it.
It's also, and I know this new kid in town, doesn't know anybody.
Yep, exactly.
You know, there's always the one kid who is way better than everybody else.
Yep.
Who, you know, that is way cooler than everybody else on top of it all, and is just really a good guy to begin with. You know,
from a musical standpoint,
oh, dude,
there is a moment that I have heard this song.
Ray Charles doing America the Beautiful.
America the Beautiful is incredible.
Oh,
the one that I was going to bring up is Booker T and the NG song
yeah.
Green Onions has been
Onions,
used in a ton of movies. This one is one of my favorite uses of it.
Yeah.
As the preppy kids are riding their bikes onto the field to come try to challenge them, you hear the downbeat of Green Onion.
All I've got to say,
that Memphis Stax era of music anyway.
Squint's taking his shot with Wendy Peppercorn.
God bless him. God bless him.
Absolutely.
My hero.
Absolutely.
All right, Alan. What's your
But
pick?
yeah, no, that I would say that movie, even now, that movie's been almost 30 years old now.
Oh, yeah. Easy.
I can still turn it on and be transported back
Hands
to
down.
when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Hands
Even
down.
though that movie's set in like the 60s or something, or at least
The
70s,
bikes with the
somewhere in
banana
there.
singing,
Yeah,
all
and
this
the
stuff,
flags, and the
and the thing is,
3/4 length T-shirt.
Well, and he's got a Babe Ruth signed ball,
I know.
so you know.
And they're all out there playing because they love baseball.
Yep.
I remember being a kid playing Little League and loving baseball.
Yes.
Until, you know, I got a little bit older and then everybody started taking it way too seriously.
Yeah.
And I lost my love for baseball because I was like, oh, no, I'm out here to have fun.
Yep.
You guys, you ruined it. So,
All right.
But yeah, The Sandlot, great.
Nice choice, Dave. What's your pick, Alan?
I have this huge list here.
I did too.
And we might go through and list off some of this stuff, just, whatever. I'm really just going to go with the movies that I do love as baseball movies. I mean,
Okay.
Have you seen Everybody Wants Some?
I haven't yet.
Okay.
That's one that showed up on a lot of lists that I was looking at, and I've heard nothing but good things about it, but I haven't seen it yet.
Both of you need to see it. It came out.
It's a Van Halen
2016.
song.
Right.
Well, it's also done by the same
It's
guy.
Richard
that did,
Linklater.
Yeah, it's Linklater.
It's a spiritual sequel to Dazed and Confused. Okay.
Oh.
I say spiritual because none of the same characters, but
a lot of the same feel, from what I understand.
it's set in the it's set in the 80s.
Okay.
And it is where Dazed and Confused is about the last day of high school, 1976.
Yeah.
This is about baseball players in college, like at a community, like a small, like a junior college.
Actually,
okay?
what most folks don't know is that a lot of baseball players are recruited out of
Absolutely.
community
Yep.
college.
Absolutely. Ronnie's stepson is playing baseball in college, that kind of stuff. And it is one of those things like he's been playing since he was a kid. And that's a big Tyler is a really good baseball. He's a pitcher, and it's one of those things that it, was recruited, out of high school and wound up in junior college. He's had a couple of injuries, but it's one of those things. It looks like he might actually at least
more players get recruited out of community college
I've
baseball.
known plenty of people who have
teams.
done that. Yeah.
I mean
Vol State.
Vol State was a huge farm
I know.
Oh, yeah.
But but this movie is great because it's one of those things where it's it's a college movie.
Right.
It has all that stuff to it. The only notable person I remember being in this is Zoe Deutsch. This was kind of like one of her first introductions. She was in Zombieland 2.
Yeah.
Right.
But it really is. It's kind of cool because like there's one character who he's a pitcher and he's really intense. I mean, like really intense. Kind of
As
stuff.
a lot of pitchers are.
And the main
lead singers.
kind of the main guy is like, I'm a good baseball player, but and he even says at one point he's like, none of us are going to play Major League Baseball. Like,
Right.
this is I'm going to college on.
Okay,
this.
so he's basically the Pink Floyd of this
in a
movie.
lot of ways, type stuff. But like, there's this great scene where there's this one dude who's like, he's getting ready to graduate or he's going to move on or whatever type stuff. And this pitcher that's so intense, is just like they're in batting practice. And he keeps trying to get one by the guy, and the guy just keeps taking him yard every time.
Wow.
I mean, just keeps going on, and the guy like keeps throwing it harder, and and like everything, and the guy just keeps taking it yard every time, and he's getting so mad, and everything. And it's just like it's a great scene because the guy is just like antagonizing him the entire time. Like, come on, got anything better than that? Come on, do it.
Bring that hit. Bring it, meat.
Yeah, it's just kind of one of those things, where it's like, all right, it's a good movie. It is very, very much in the vein of Dazed and Confused.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I suggest watching it. So.
You've got me interested in that.
All right. So there are a lot of movies that came out that were kind of based off of historical people in baseball.
Yeah, as they usually are.
A ton of them that,
Which one are you going with?
Well, you had the Babe, you had
Cobb, you had
Cobb was my pick.
That's your pick. That's a good one. Tommy Lee Jones.
When
Ty
you're
Cobb.
talking about the most despicable human being that has ever played the sport of baseball and make it to where you actually want to watch a 2-hour movie about him.
I thought you were talking about Barry Bonds.
Oh, no. This guy.
No. Ty Cobb.
Tyrus Raymond Cobb.
Okay.
Let me put it to you like this, Dave.
I know about Ty Cobb.
You remember the
I was
song?
being funny.
You remember the song Ty Cobb by Soundgarden?
Yeah.
What was the chorus to it? Hard-headed fuck you all. That's the chorus to it. Okay.
Yep. This is the man that used to slide into the batter or into the bases.
Cleats up. Yep.
Everybody knows about Cobb. I know. I was being
I
facetious.
will
Now,
say
one of the
this.
things I do love
I
about
tried
Ty
for a
Cobb-
laugh and I failed.
One of, the
Move
things,
on.
one of the things I love about Ty Cobb, though,
Yeah.
is that his last season that he played, he hit 350, and he said anybody that hits like that shouldn't be playing the game of
Yes.
baseball. These days, you make multi-millions of dollars for hitting 350.
My favorite scene, and I'm going to talk about this, and I have a little anecdote for you. My favorite scene was when he walks in on Louis Prima at like some show, and Louis Prima brings him up, and is sitting there going, Mr. Cobb, you hit so many home runs, so many. How do you think you would fare against modern day pitchers? Now, modern day being what, 60s?
Yeah, something like
so,
that. Yeah.
And he goes 290. He goes 290. You hit over 350 multiple times. He goes, why do you think you'd only hit 290? He goes, because I'm 64 years old.
But yeah, it is a good movie.
Well, that's kind of like when somebody was interviewing Jordan. Is like, how do you think the dream team, the Olympic team, would do against today's Olympic?
Yeah.
He's like, I think we take them by like 30. He's like, only 30? He goes, well, I mean, we are all mostly 50 and 60-year-old at this point.
So,
I know.
Real quick anecdote. The infamous Amy and I had to take a road trip one time to go to South Carolina. And the route that we took went right across North Georgia, right through Royston, Georgia. And I told her, we are stopping in Royston, Georgia. She's like, what the hell is in Royston, Georgia? I said, that's where Ty Cobb is from. So I was like, okay, we can do that. So we pulled off. We go into, we found Ty Cobb, the Cobb Mausoleum.
Okay.
And I walked up, grabbed the fence, shook it really hard. I was like, okay, we can leave now. And she's like, why?
Sure
What'd you do?
he's still in
She's
there?
like, yeah. I said, I want to make sure that bastard's still in there.
He was not the most well-loved person in the world. So
Now, keep in mind, though, one thing that you do learn about this is if had not been for Ty Cobb, you would have never heard of Coca-Cola. He was one of the major investors in Coca-Cola initially, and he's the reason why Coca-Cola went into cans.
Okay, cool.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't absolve him from all the other horrible things that he did.
So if we get a time machine, we're going back, we're taking care of Hitler, and we're taking care of him, so we don't have to hear about Coca-Cola.
All right, Dave, what's your pick?
You've already done Bull Durham. You've already done the Sandlot.
He's running out of one.
He's only got two more left.
I'm trying to remember what the other three were.
You had Field of Dreams. You had Bad News Bears.
Oh, yeah,
and
Bad News Bears.
I guess.
Now, let's be clear.
And Major League. I mean, come on.
Well,
I mean, we did a whole episode.
We did a whole episode about Major League.
Let's be clear about Bad News Bears. When we're talking about Bad News Bears,
the 1970s.
The
Bad
Walter
News,
Matthau.
Walter Matthau.
we are absolutely the Billy Bob Thornton one. No.
Yeah, no, we're talking Walter Matthau. We're talking about Tatum O'Neal, and we're talking about Jackie Earle Haley.
Yes. Yeah, and Tanner Boyle.
Yeah,
Tanner was my favorite.
And it's that whole the grumpy old drunk man.
Yep.
It's just
it was the team that nobody wanted to be.
Okay, yeah,
on.
let's go with that. Bad News Bears is Sandlot, Bad News Bears, 1A, 1B. We'll figure out which one's A, which one's B.
I love
okay?
Walter Matthau as an actor anyway.
Yes.
I mean,
he plays curmudgeon better than
Buttermaker.
anybody.
Some of my favorite movies is the Grumpy Old Men series.
Oh, yeah.
I love those movies.
Him and Jack Lemmon are gold.
And you got to see a little bit of a preview of that with Bad News Bears and this bunch of misfits who just happened to play baseball.
Right.
Well, and there were so many moments in that. You have Jackie Earle Haley doing, the Kelly Leak stuff.
Right.
You have Tanner Boyle picking a fight with the 7th grade.
Yeah.
The whole 7th grade.
7th grade, yeah.
The whole scene with the athletic supporters where they're tossing them around. He's
I ain't wearing that shit.
This is against my religion, But it's
come on, Tatum O'Neal.
It's a
who didn't.
Well,
when we were young, who didn't did not have a crush on her in that movie.
Fair.
I mean,
Fair point.
seriously.
And I still love it when she takes the line drive right to her chest.
Yeah.
And she goes to the bench. She's like, "Are you all right?" She's like, "I know I ain't got a lot up there, but what I got really hurts."
Yeah.
But honestly, my favorite moment, and it's not one of the bigger moments, but it kind of personified what this was at the very opening of it when all the teams are getting assigned. Where is all this happening? In an old school Pizza Hut.
Yep.
Where they're bringing out the pans and the whole 9 yards.
I
And I was like, oh, that just made me nostalgic for great pizza. But the best moment was when they get the big trophy and then they award the Bears their little trophy. He hands it to him. "Thank you, sir." It was a woman that was handing it to him.
I love the fact that Buttermaker's handing out beer to the kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah. I've got to derail here for a minute. I, out of nostalgia, ordered a Pizza Hut pizza not too long
Nowhere
ago.
near the same.
Sorry.
It is
so sorry.
such a garbage
It is
pizza
so
now.
Bad. It is so bad, man.
But
it's
yes,
terrible.
you can completely forget about the Bad News Bears, the newer version with Billy Bob Thornton. There are moments that are good in it.
Remember when
off-
you'd go to Pizza Hut and you'd walk in and you'd play the Pac-Man
Or Galaga.
with Journey blasting in the background. They bring you out that little, personal pan pizza.
That you got-
was some gourmet stuff
That you got for free because you read 5 books in
Right,
school.
yeah.
that
I
was
know.
after. That
But
was
they
after
also
me.
had the salad bar. I mean,
Yep.
it was
Yeah.
just all the stuff. I mean, those red plastic cups.
Oh, that were
and
indestructible.
I know. I mean, all the stuff.
I
All-
would kill to have a set of the red plastic
You can
cups.
probably still get those.
But
Anyways,
yes.
but yeah, the Bad News Bears. When I remember when they did that remake again, Richard Linklater actually did the remake.
Yep.
And, Billy Bob Thornton. I was like, all right, not a bad replacement for Walter Matthau. But I just remember being like, there's no way they can remake this movie.
No.
There is no way in this day and time. And that was in the mid 2000s. Sometimes like there is no way they can remake this movie.
It didn't work. It didn't have the magic that
I know.
the 70s one did, and that's just something very special about it. Is it politically correct today?
Oh, hell no.
Absolutely not.
No,
Not a
Tanner
chance
Boyle would have
in the
been
world.
canceled 5 minutes into the
They
movie.
could not make a lot of those, a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, but especially that movie.
Oh,
that is one of those
Blazing Saddles.
movies where,
That's all I'm going to say is that this was a Blazing Saddles
Kentucky
level.
Fried Movie.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all kinds of those movies.
All right, Alan, what's your next pick?
I have to go.
He's going to the well.
I am, because I'm kind of. All right.
He made a list.
This,
He's checking it twice.
Yep.
I honestly can't believe I'm actually bringing this one into the fray here, but because it was one of those movies that when it was first released, I cared zero about it, and then I called it years later and was like, that was actually a really good movie.
Okay.
Hardball.
Ooh, interesting choice.
Keanu Reeves and a bunch of kids.
You're talking about the replacements?
No, this
This
was
is a
different.
serious movie.
It's almost like a serious version of a baseball version of the Mighty Ducks.
in a lot of ways.
You know?
Basically, he's a degenerate gambler. He owes a lot of money.
Yeah.
And to get out from under his amount of debt, one of somebody that he knows who is a lawyer, like, got a DUI or something, and so he has community service where he has to go to this inner city baseball and teach this, and like coach this baseball team, these inner city kids. And he tells Keanu Reeves, if you go and do this, I'll pay off your debt, so I don't have to like take time off work, do all this kind of stuff, and then I get the credit for it and everything. And so he goes in and he does, that kind of stuff. It is very much a tearjerker movie, especially at the end of it, something that happens, and of course, he learns a lesson and all that kind of stuff. But it's actually a really good movie. Again, going back to the whole kids, it's like, this is what they have. They all have like terrible lives, but they get to play baseball, type thing. And, him kind of coming in at first and just being like, all right, yeah, I'm here and blah, 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 blah. But then like actually starts taking it seriously after a while and everything. It's actually a pretty good movie. So.
Yep.
Anyway.
And the thing that I love is when you get into the movies that on the pro side of it, it's kind of funny to see which ones are actually, the real teams, what teams get used. I mean, you get teams like the Yankees get used in a ton of movies.
Well, Major League, the Indians.
The Indians, the Cubs get used a lot. There was one
Fever Pitch. I don't know if you're going to bring that up or
No,
not.
no,
Okay.
we're
I
not
know,
talking
I
about
know,
that movie.
I know.
Because that's a blasphemy. But
For multiple reasons.
First
Yes.
off, it has a team that shall remain nameless.
Exactly. And also the fact they finally won a series that year, or like the next year. So
and
Yeah,
I'm gonna-
against
year prior,
my
whatever.
team,
I
we're
know,
not not talking about that garbage team from that town up north.
From that garbage city. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to throw out one that I honestly struggle to think of another movie that used this professional baseball team in it, the Milwaukee Brewers. It was a movie called Mr. 3000.
Oh, yeah, with Bernie Mac.
Bernie Mac.
Bernie Mac.
You got to say it that way. It's not other ways.
I know.
It was really kind of clever because
I have that on my list.
It showed him being kind of the guy that's, gone all the way up the ranks and, has made his fortune and his celebrity. And
that's the whole thing. He's Mr. 3,000 hits.
He's just shy of 3,000 hits.
Well, he had 3,000 hits.
And then they
reviewed it and
took
two of them away, so he had to go out of retirement to go back to try to get his 2 hits back. And,
but it's the whole, grizzled veteran coming in to help rally the kids,
right.
to save the
rec center,
the rec center thing. But it's a good movie. It actually surprised me that I enjoyed it as much as I did because Bernie Mac is playing it in his most Bernie Mac.
I'm going to jump Dave on this since you brought that one up. I'm going to go to Mr. Baseball.
I was just about to bring that one up. I love that movie.
You remember that one? I think 92, I believe, is
where he goes to Japan.
Yeah. He gets traded to the Japanese league. He doesn't want to go there, but he goes over.
It was the Dragons?
Yeah, something like that. But he goes over and he
who was it?
Tom Selleck.
It sounds familiar.
He's a veteran player who's kind of at the end of his baseball, and so he gets traded to a Japanese league.
Okay.
And he goes over and he doesn't want to be there, but then he becomes a huge star. And
it sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's a cool cute little movie.
I love that movie.
It has its moments of
when he's filming the commerol
xenophobia in it a few times. Yeah, when he's doing the commercials.
Oh my God,
and stuff.
it's the most Japanese commercial you've ever seen.
It's very much in that late 80s, early 90s. The Japanese are going to buy up everything American, and before their economy tanked, and we bought it all back for pennies on the dollar.
And now it's China doing the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Thing.
So it's actually a pretty good little movie. So
I'll watch it anytime it's on. That's for sure. All right,
Dave, go ahead.
I know Field of Dreams was out there. What was the other one that I mentioned? I can't remember.
I don't know.
Major League.
Major League.
League of Their Own.
No, I haven't
it's
seen that.
It's a really good movie. We're going to talk about
I know Tom Hanks is in it. That's about all I know.
Gina Davis.
Let's go with Major League.
Okay.
We've already done
Major
an
League.
episode on it.
The original.
Major League 2 is not terrible.
It's not great.
It's not great, but it's not terrible. Like as far as a sequel goes, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad.
But anything past that is not worth it.
Major League was one you'd go see in the theater.
Major League was great.
Major League 2, you rented it on VHS.
Exactly.
Or you watched it on HBO.
Right.
Yeah.
And,
if you could afford that, rich kid.
the whole Ricky Vaughn, that's, Wild Thing Ricky Vaughn.
It's a classic. And
X
like I said,
Wild
Al Herbosky
Thing
was the inspiration for it.
I like Serrano.
Bob Uecker as
just a bit outside. Yeah.
Ball 4, ball 8,
you did not
ball
hold
12.
You did not hold that long enough. It was.
Don't worry, nobody's listening.
Just a bit outside.
That's my favorite. One of my favorite scenes in there is we got one damn hit. You can't say damn on the radio.
Yeah,
don't worry, nobody's listening.
Anyway.
But my favorite line in that entire movie is a line that didn't make it into the actual movie.
That ball wouldn't have been on most parks. Name one.
Yellowstone.
Which is funny because that was because again in the trailer, all the television spots, that line is in there. It's not in the movie. They made sure to put it in the second one.
Because it was that good of a line. All right, Alan, what's your next one?
Oh man, let me go down my line here. I am going to go with League of Their Own. Okay. That
I know it had Tom Hanks, and I know it had the line "There's no crying in baseball."
Tom Hanks, Gina Davis, Lori Petty is in it. Madonna, Rosie O'Donnell,
Bitsy Schramm from
and it was directed.
Monk.
It was directed by
Penny Marshall.
Penny Marshall. It's actually a really good movie based on. What's his name is in it?
Bill
John Lovitz.
Oh, John Lovitz.
John Lovitz, and then Squiggy from Lenny and Squiggy is in it also.
Well, of course he was because of who directed it.
Yeah, but he also actually became a baseball scout later in his after.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that I did not know.
And I'll say this much: this is one of those movies. It's not just that it's a good movie. This was a necessary movie.
Yes.
This needed to exist in the world
because people didn't know about the women's baseball league in the 19th.
Well,
and it was a huge.
I understand it's a big movie. I understand that a
a
lot of
really
people really
movie.
enjoyed it.
It's very entertaining as well.
It is a really good movie. It is Tom Hanks is spectacular. It's another one of Tom Hanks pees in the movie. You know, apparently that was a thing for him for a long time. It's kind of like Tom Cruise runs, Brad Pitt eats, and Tom Hanks pees. So that's kind of like the things that they do.
Okay, so it was this one, The Green Mile, and what else?
Joe versus Volcano.
Oh, right.
Castaway.
Yeah, Castaway is one of them.
Right. Forgot
let's
about
see,
that.
What else? There's so many movies that he does it. Anyway, but it's just
Starting to sound like he needs to get his prostate checked.
No, it's working fine. It's the strongest muscle in his body. What are you talking
it's
about?
a great movie, and of course, like I said, it's based on actual historical, whatever.
Yeah.
But the character, Tom Hanks' character, is one of those things. He starts off as a very despicable, like he's just there to grab a paycheck and talk all the time, and everything. But there's this one scene that happens, where that character shows the most compassion and empathy that a person could in the situation.
Okay.
And then has to say, okay, we got to go play baseball now. I mean, it's one of those it is one of those scenes. Again, if you don't at least tear up a little bit, you ain't got a heart. I mean, it's just. And you also got to remember, it's all around World War II.
Yeah,
So it's all this, and it really is. It's a great movie.
it is.
It's wonderfully acted. There are no bad actors in it.
Nobody phoned
Madonna
it in.
maybe, but I mean,
I was going to say Rosie O'Donnell.
Actually, I would say even Madonna and Rosie O'Donnell did a good job.
The thing about Rosie O'Donnell is that she plays the character that she needs to play in it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of one of those where it's like, if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's a 30-year-old movie now.
It's
I mean,
totally worth it.
I know they did a TV series here recently. I don't know. I haven't watched it. I don't watch television anymore hardly unless it's wrestling. Or football. But yeah, definitely worth a watch. It's funny. It's heartfelt. It's exciting. I mean, it does have the warm fuzzy at the end of it. It's a family movie. It's as far as like family dynamics, there's a little bit of everything in this movie.
Absolutely.
And it's baseball.
Yeah. I've got a couple more that I can bring up. The one that I'm going to bring up is, it holds a special place in my heart because it's all about one of my dad's absolute favorite baseball players of all time. Later found out not to necessarily be the nicest guy in the world, but
seems to be all athletes. So it's
61.
Okay.
61.
Roger Maris,
Roger Maris, Mickey Mantle.
Billy Crystal's in this one.
Billy
right?
Crystal directed
yeah,
it,
yeah.
or wrote it.
It was a made for HBO movie.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
But
61 with the asterisk.
Yes.
You got to make sure to put the asterisk on there because that's what they did to him because he played more games than Babe Ruth did. Because they were always they were constantly trying to figure out a way to keep Babe Ruth at the top of that list.
Well, and the fact that. But and you find out in this movie that Mantle was the golden child. He was the one that everybody was pushing. He's the one that everybody wanted to talk to because he was so just flamboyant and loved to talk to people, loved to smile, everybody loved him. People hated Roger Maris.
Oh, absolutely.
Because he was just...
He got death threats.
Yeah.
I mean, just...
He just wanted to play baseball. That's all he wanted to do. He didn't want to talk to people. He didn't want to have interviews. He didn't want to do anything else. And the two actors, and I know Barry Pepper was one of them. I can't remember the other actor is, but they played those characters brilliantly. And it is a historical piece, but it's, again, a historical piece that I think needed to be. It's kind of like the Jackie Robinson story.
Right.
It needed to exist because...
42 now.
42. 42.
Well, there's the Jackie Robinson story, and then there's 42.
I've seen 42. I forgot about that one. I've seen 42.
I mean, any of those moments in baseball, I do think if you're going to encapsulate them, you need to have a movie that tells the story of it and the whole story. So you hear about Maris, you hear about Mantle, you find out how much of a drunk Mickey Mantle was.
Oh, yeah.
And how Maris, basically saved his ass a couple of times.
Yeah.
So it's one of my favorites. I adore it. It's, again, special place for me and my dad, but I will watch 61 anytime it's on.
Well, we mentioned 42. That's one that I saw that I've forgotten about.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite scenes is when, I can't remember the player's name, but when he walked over to him on the field and wrapped his arm around him and sat there and talked to him, in the middle of the game.
Right.
And it's like, well, maybe we'll all wear 42 tomorrow and they won't know the difference.
Yeah.
That was a great line.
Yeah.
That is a great line.
I actually enjoyed that movie. I have
not seen that. I've seen the Jackie Robinson story.
Yeah.
I have not seen 42. I heard 42 was good.
42 was a good movie. I had just forgotten that I had seen that.
Right.
That was one that
it was
me and the wife rented.
That came out 10 years ago or something. And it's one of those where it came out.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a blip. It did all right, in theaters, but it wasn't like a blockbuster or anything. And then it just kind of disappeared after that.
I think it was like a Voodoo rental or a Redbox rental streaming for us, and we enjoyed it. It was a pretty good movie.
Okay.
Right.
It's got the guy that was in Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift and on NCIS New Orleans.
Oh, Christopher Maloney. Oh, yeah, he was in it too, but I can't remember I know who you're talking about.
The one with the deep like Louisiana or Alabama accent.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name. I like him as an actor.
Yeah.
So
It was solid.
So it's on me now, huh?
Yep. I have 2 left.
how about that? I pulled one out of thin air.
Proud of you. Alan's got 12.
He's got like
a ton of them on here, but I'm really
he did
trying to
baseball
figure out,
movies like I do music. He's got like 726.
I'm trying to
or
figure
something
out
over
which
there.
one of these I actually want to talk about. Though.
Okay.
And
Not Field of Dreams. That's the last one.
I know, and I know that because, and that's one that I'm sure we're going to go deep on. So it's kind of
Stay away from my last one.
let me just go through some of this stuff here, and maybe I won't step on it. Okay, so on my list, I have that we have not talked about. Little Big League.
That was the one I was going to bring up next.
Okay, well then we'll talk. Yeah. Okay, For Love of the Game, which we have not talked about. Chasing Dreams, which is Stealing Home with Mark Harmon, which
I don't know if I would
and
necessarily
Jodie
call
Foster.
that a baseball movie.
It is kind of because he's a former baseball player going back home to pick
That's
up.
kind of like Mr. Destiny. I don't know.
I didn't put Mr. Destiny on there. That's like The Rookie. Is one that again based on a true story.
If you want to go a darker element, The Fan.
The Fan, yes, that most definitely.
Wesley Snipes and Robert De Niro.
Angels in the Outfield. I know. The Scout.
The Scout was cute.
And you know why I don't want to talk about The Scout? Because I hate Albert Brooks.
See, I like Albert Brooks. Albert Brooks and Brendan Fraser.
Trouble with the Curve, which I've heard with
isn't that a Clint Eastwood or something?
Okay. And Amy Adams.
That's
Moneyball.
the reason.
That was the other one.
I forgot about Moneyball. I like
Moneyball. Let's go ahead and talk about.
Hold on, I got 2 more here, and we can talk about Moneyball. But Ed.
Yeah.
Come on, the monkey plays baseball.
Jeez.
And one that I did see that is not a bad movie.
Okay.
Summer Catch.
Again, it's not my favorite.
I know, but again, it's that minor league baseball.
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about. It's Freddie Prinze Jr., Jessica Biel, what's his name, Wilmer Valderrama. What's her name? Brittany Murphy's in it.
Yep.
The guy.
Are there going to be snacks at some point?
The doctor from Scrubs.
You just mentioned a medical show.
The older guy.
About the doctor.
Ted
McGinley. Is that what it is? No, not McGinley. Ted C.
Something
You know what I'm talking about? The older doctor on Scrubs.
Dr. Cox.
The cranky one.
Yeah, him, And it's a whole thing about how, they play baseball, but of course it's not paying. They're getting paid a very minimal amount of money, and everything, and kind of it's that whole, is the kid going to make it to the majors or whatever, type stuff. But, but it's all about,
Never
it's
heard
kind
of
of a little bit of a Bull Durham-ish thing for millennials, I guess.
That's a bit of a stretch.
I said a little bit,
Bull Durham for millennials. That sounds terrible. All right, sounds absolutely terrible.
Let's redeem this. Let's go back to Bunnyball.
Moneyball, not Bunnyball.
Moneyball. Moneyball.
I'm good with either one.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
based on a true story.
Yes.
Based on the book.
Billy Bean.
Billy Bean. Yep. What he did with the Oakland A's.
Yep.
Basically, he said, we don't have to pay these all-star players this huge amounts of money. We can go and look at the stats and see who's good at what and bring them in here.
Well, and that's really what kind of started that whole trend. This was...
Which makes perfect sense.
It
makes perfect sense.
If you take the mythology and the folklore out of trying to draft players and take it strictly back to the numbers.
I know.
Oh, we're not going to hire him because he throws funny.
Well,
but what is his stats throwing?
I know,
funny?
exactly.
And I have to admit,
it's like NFL Combine. Combine numbers are one like the most useless stuff that you ever see. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, it was Seth Rogen, not Seth Rogen.
No, it was
Jonah Hill. Jonah Hill and Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
And Brad Pitt playing the most...
non-Brad Pitt role.
Yeah, I mean, reserved, just kind of... It almost felt aloof. It felt like he just, he knew what he was doing, but he didn't know what he was doing kind of thing. And it worked. It worked so well. And Jonah Hill playing a numbers cruncher.
Right.
Yeah.
That just couldn't understand why this guy was going off on the way that he was going off.
And two guys becoming friends that should not have ever been friends.
Should have had nothing to do with one another, and
kind of like all three of us.
You're not wrong. You are not wrong. But the way that it kind of comes out, and seeing how they literally rebuild the Oakland A's from dead last
Yeah.
to contenders.
Absolutely.
And then
because the A's had not been anything since the late 80s.
Oh, no.
early
Since
90s.
the Bash
Canseco
brothers.
Canseco and McGuire.
I mean, and and actually Billy Beane was on that team. Billy Beane was an A with the Bash brothers.
Right.
But when they were building this back up,
And then St. Louis got McGuire.
Yes.
and all his
How'd
steroids.
that work out for you?
Yeah, but it's really for a movie that is about the business of baseball.
Yeah.
It could not have been done better.
No,
I think that really hits on you don't see a lot of baseball being played in the game or in the movie, excuse me, but you hear about it. You hear the stats. You see Dave Justice in the batting cage and stuff, and guys talking about the stats and what to do to improve their numbers and how to.
People forget Chris Pratt's in this movie.
Oh, that's right. I forgot he was. Yeah.
That's right.
But yeah,
That's before he was Chris Pratt.
Yeah. I really love that movie.
It was right
before.
It was during the
Guardians. Yeah.
No.
Before Guardians.
It was before Guardians, but it was kind of during that Parks and Rec where he was still
kind of pudgy,
and all that. But he had started dropping the weight and all that in preparation for. So he was still kind of
fair enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely one of my favorites.
That's a good one.
What was the other one? Rookie of the Year? Or
Little Big League.
Little Big League was and that's one of those interesting where it's a kid inherits a baseball team from his grandfather. Is that what it is?
Grandfather,
Yeah.
It was the Minnesota Twins.
Yeah, the Minnesota Twins, and it's a whole hey, what if you were a kid and you owned a baseball team?
Twinkies.
Well, but the kid knows baseball.
Right.
He knows the stats. He knows who to play when and where and all this other kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And, the fact that it's got Timothy Busfield in it just makes me happy. We're talking about the dude from Revenge of the Nerds that does
30-something.
Yeah, 30-something. I mean, he's been in a ton of stuff.
And every Aaron Sorkin joint ever.
True.
Just about, yeah. Just about.
No, he was. He was on The Newsroom. He was on The West Wing. He was on Sports Night. He was on...
okay, I guess you're right.
What was the other? Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip. He was in all of them. So.
Okay.
But this one is just so much fun because you're right, Alan. It is, what if you, at the age of 9, were gifted a Major League Baseball team to run the way that you feel like you need to run?
At the age of 9?
Yep.
I'd be selling that thing and investing in an apple right now.
At the age of 9?
At the age of 9?
Yeah.
You'd be buying.
You would be having the best time ever running a baseball
Oh, my God.
team.
Yes.
I mean, that's...
because I wouldn't know what I was doing with a baseball team. That thing would have gone in the basement faster than the Cubs.
Oh, wow.
Be nice. Be nice.
Shots fired.
I haven't said one bad thing about the boozers at Busch.
Jeez.
We're not. I haven't even gone there.
One that also kind of qualifies as a baseball movie.
What's that?
Brewster's Millions.
Well, I was going to say that's the second movie that had the Durham Bulls.
Oh yeah, okay.
But they became the
Yeah,
Hackensack Bulls for that one.
Yeah.
Because it had the train going through the
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I love that movie, and actually that's a remake.
Yeah,
There was a
40s
'40s or '50s
it
movie.
was, but the Richard Pryor version.
Oh, Richard Pryor, John
Candy.
Oh my
it's
God,
such a good movie.
It is
classic.
It is. Okay. So I guess we're down to talking about the movie,
Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams.
And for me,
Timothy Busfield.
Yes, actually it. Again, there we are. Shoeless Joe Jackson. We're back to that again.
Yep. For me, this was not a Kevin Costner movie. This was a James Earl Jones movie because he's the most interesting character of this movie.
You know who that character was supposed to be?
I'm trying to remember.
It was supposed to be J.D. Salinger.
Right.
And Salinger didn't want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
And so they created a character based off of J.D. Salinger. They'd written this really famous
Moonlight
novel
Graham. Yep.
and then disappeared out of public.
Yeah.
And but yeah, that movie, I have said it more times than not about that movie. It's a good movie.
Oh yeah.
Yes, it's a baseball movie.
It's a dad movie.
It is a movie about fathers and sons
Yes.
more than anything else.
Yes.
And I will say the one thing that has always bugged the shit out of me about that movie more than any, and it's a little thing.
Mm-hmm.
But anytime that I've watched that movie, I'm like, really? Why have they not gone back and digitally fixed this?
What?
Who says, do you want to have a catch? No one says that. Have a catch?
Yeah.
I mean, like that's...
Play catch.
I guess maybe that's a thing for them, whatever. But that's
Maybe.
like if that's the biggest complaint I have, okay. Yeah. But that is one of those movies where, again, if you don't tear up a little bit watching that movie, then it's
and the field is still there.
Yes.
I mean, it's a tourist thing. You can go and do it.
It's not just a tourist thing. They hold Major League Baseball games there now.
They did this last year. They've
done two of them so
they've done
far.
a couple of them.
And I've got friends that have gone, and done the visit. And I'll have to admit it. That's something I wouldn't mind going and doing at some point.
And for a while, they actually had some of the people that were the actors that played the baseball.
Leota was there.
Yeah, but I'm talking about that was a regular thing though. They would come out of it was a touristy thing.
Yeah.
They would come out of the field and talk to the kids, all that kind of stuff.
And I gotta admit it, I know none of us are White Sox fans, but one of the games the White Sox played, and you got to when they were introducing the players, they were coming out of the cornfield. That was really freaking cool.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
One of my favorite lines, kind of a throwback to one of the other movies we were talking about, is there's a conversation happening between Ray and Shoeless Joe, and somehow the topic of Ty Cobb comes up.
Oh, yeah.
And is Cobb in there with you? I was like, no, none of us liked the son of a bitch when he was alive.
Yeah. Yeah, that would have been a stretch for Ty Cobb to be there. It's like,
yeah.
But then, of course, you get that hole at the end when his dad walks out of the field.
Yeah.
It's just like, all right.
Well, because when his dad, he only played one game or something.
Yeah, but, that's a lot of that movie is boomers trying to reconcile
with their fathers.
I mean, it's up there with what's the Mike and the Mechanic song, "Living
Oh,
Years."
God.
Oh, yeah.
It's like,
well, but to be honest, I mean, really, who was the first person that took you to a baseball game?
it was my dad. Absolutely.
Who was the first person who took you to a baseball game?
Dad coached all my teams.
Actually, I never went to a baseball game with my dad.
Really.
Oh, okay.
The first Major League Baseball game,
Well, major, minor, doesn't matter.
well, there weren't any minor teams around.
Okay.
It was a school trip.
Okay. All right, that's fair.
But yeah, I mean,
Mine was my parents.
My parents. So
Yeah.
but Dad was, like I said, Dad coached my teams. When I was a kid. And
What was the James Earl Jones line where he talks about that the bond between fathers and sons? There was always baseball.
Yeah. And there's a lot of that because.
No, it's
Again,
basketball in my house.
The era that
we're from Kentucky.
All right, fair.
The era that we grew up in, 4 channels.
Yep.
It was on Saturday afternoon during the summer. There was one game on, usually the Yankees.
Usually you had 2.
Maybe 2, yeah.
Because you had one at noon.
And Dad would
the night game.
watch the baseball game.
Yep.
And I would go in there and crawl up in the chair with him and watch the game with him.
Well, and I know you said you're from Kentucky. Al and I being from this area, there's no major league teams anywhere close to us.
Atlanta was the closest we had.
Atlanta or Cincinnati.
Or
Cincinnati.
And that's probably why I became a Cincinnati. Well,
and they did,
Johnny Bench and all those guys, but
Yep.
because that was the closest team.
Right.
It was,
so when we would see them, you would see these kind of, guys you've never heard of or teams you've never even heard of.
and honestly,
show up.
having the choice between the Reds and the Braves, I made the right choice. So it's
Well, I mean, you guys were getting Reds or Braves,
Yeah.
and,
right.
and in Kentucky,
and that was what was
it's-
on TV here.
being from Kentucky, it was usually the Reds because they were the closer team.
Yeah,
You could
exactly.
get to the
That.
ball.
Yep.
But we moved from Kentucky when I was young. We went to Michigan.
Yep.
And it was in northern Michigan, so we weren't close to any of the sports teams.
Tigers.
It was Tigers, but nobody really cared in my house.
because they were bad back then.
You realize the infamous Amy is screaming at you right now.
I mean, that's
so-
fine.
That's because they were bad. They're still bad.
You
but
got to
it's like-
understand, with my house and all that, nobody really cared about.
It's like being
That's
a
fair.
Royals fan.
Dad, Dad had been a Dallas fan for years,
Right.
and
then when
rightfully should be.
And then when they did to Landry what they did to Landry, he's like, I'm never watching another pro game ever again. And as far as I know, he didn't. So everything else just kind of went by the wayside. It wasn't until we got to Illinois that I was of an age where boys build their sports allegiances.
Right.
And we were exactly 2 hours north of St. Louis, and the Cardinals were always sending tickets up to the school. FCA would have players come up. I met Tom Herr. I met Lonnie
nice.
Smith.
Yeah.
Nice.
I've actually, the St. Louis Cardinals, the town we lived in had 3 high schools. There's 11,000 people in this town. We had 3 high schools, 2 of them Catholic, 1 blue collar, 1 white collar.
Jeez.
And once a year, the public high school and the white collar Catholic team would go down to St. Louis, and the Cardinals would let them play their baseball game in Busch Stadium.
Oh, nice.
Before the Cardinals game. And then because their school didn't have a band and our school did, and I was in the drum line, we got to play music
during the game?
No, between the two games when the teams were warming up.
Oh, okay.
And then we would play the Star Spangled Banner
Nice.
for the stadium, and we were broadcast over KMOX.
Oh, wow. All right.
You know,
Very cool.
for the game, and I got to do that twice.
Very cool.
So
Nice.
So is that your favorite baseball moment then?
that's some of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
What-
One of my other. One of those times they were playing the Mets, and this is where my hatred for the Mets comes from. Where we were stationed, we were in the outfield,
right,
in one of the breezeways, and they had us all mic'd up and everything, and they're playing our music out over the stadium. And I forget who was playing center field for the Mets at the time. Came up and started chucking baseballs at us, telling us to shut up. Hey, we're up here trying to warm up. Shut up.
Wow.
Well, way we were set up, the drum line we all had our backs to the field, so we didn't see any of this coming. Well, on one of our breaks, we scooped up all the baseballs, and on one of our breaks, we turned around the drum line, and started chucking these baseballs back at that center fielder.
Nice.
So screw you, Mets.
Nice. All right, Alan, what's one of your favorite baseball memories?
Oh man, I have a few. When I was a kid, this would have been, late 70s.
Okay.
Like 78, 79, something like that. Big Red Machine was still kind of a thing.
Nice.
I think Pete Rose had gone to the Phillies by then, but most of the rest of the team was still
had like Concepcion.
Yeah, Concepcion. Ken Griffey was still playing. Senior was still playing for him. Bench was still, in the last couple of years that he was playing,
Okay.
Actually getting to go to the old Riverfront Stadium.
I've been there.
Cincy, and watch a game. I have pictures,
Nice.
of that from when I was a kid. There's that, as far as like in-person stuff, there's that. I remember watching the 88 series, Kirk Gibson hitting that home run.
Oh, we're not going to talk about that.
But I know. But it was like one of the, I remember like laying on, I was in high school as a senior or a freshman in high school, like playing on the couch, just kind of like, and then watching that happen.
That walk-off home run.
Yeah. Didn't play the entire game, came in and those are like, that's like a big moment in sports to begin with, but actually like, oh wow, I actually watched that. That was,
absolutely. That's cool.
that kind of stuff. I mean, of course, playing ball for the years that I did, I almost pitched a no-hitter one time.
Nice.
I came with, I literally pitched I pitched a two-hitter is what I did.
Okay.
And it was just kind of one of those things where like, oh, that's, how many people do that in their life? I
have two moments that stick out in my brain that I will always go back to, and both of which happened the senior year of high school. Mm-hmm. My senior year of high school, our band took a trip to Toronto, Canada, and we actually got to go.
Blue Jays.
Well, we didn't get to see a game, but we got to go out in the field.
Oh, nice. That's really nice.
The Sky Dome.
Yeah.
And at the time, the dome was closed. So we're all out like running around the field and just being goofy. I go out to left center and I stretch out and I'm laying on my back with my hands behind my head and I'm staring up at the dome. And all of a sudden, the lights go out, pitch black. I'm like, did they have a power failure or something? Mm-hmm. And I start to see this thin crack of light start to form around the edge of the dome, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Nice.
It was so bright. It was like looking into the eyes of God.
Wow,
I mean, it was that
cool.
bright.
That's pretty cool.
It was incredible. Wow. The other one was my senior year of high school. My buddy Mike Morgel and I and another couple of friends of ours took our senior trip. We all piled into his dad's Mazda 626 and drove to Chicago, Illinois, and went there for the weekend and went to a Cubs game. It was the Cubs versus the Colorado Rockies. I will never forget this as long as I live. We sat out in the bleachers. We're the bleacher bums. Howard Johnson was playing for the Colorado Rockies, hits a home run out of Wrigley, and I mean out of Wrigley. He's rounding second, heading for third, and you see from Waveland Avenue, the ball comes screaming back into Wrigley Field. And I mean, it was screaming.
Yeah.
The guy chucked it.
Who is that person?
I was just about to say. Just arced right over and dropped in the outfield. And I was like, that is the greatest thing I have ever seen.
I remember, you guys will probably remember this, when the sounds were back at the old Greer Stadium.
One of my favorite things to do was to sit I think it was like 10 or 12 rows up and watch the pitching come.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah.
You can't do that at the new stadium.
Do you remember when they used to do the Thirsty Thursdays?
Oh God.
Oh no.
You remember when they
Beer or something?
stopped doing Thirsty Thursdays?
It was your fault, wasn't
It
it?
wasn't my fault per se.
He was a contributing
I
factor.
was there the last night they did it. It was not my section.
I don't believe you. I do not believe
But we
you.
were one section over from that.
Nice.
I think Brody was with me also
Well,
that night. And that was like...
That doesn't
And the thing is
surprise
he and
me.
I were actually like taking it pretty easy that night. But
I
it
don't
was kind of
believe
one
you.
of those like, because it was one of those things that like they did. They issued a press statement the next day and like, we're no longer
done with
doing
this.
Thirsty Thursday. So it's...
So I want to open up to our Discord family, our fans, our peoples,
Our community. Get it right.
whatever you want to call it. I think fans and peoples is more personal, but hey, I want to hear from you guys. What are some of your favorite baseball movies? I know there's a ton of ones we didn't touch on.
We didn't even talk about The Babe.
Oh no, because we don't need to. It's
That's
just
bad.
not
I like
worth
John
it.
Goodman, but that's not good.
No, but
the Babe Ruth story, the actual
Yep.
is actually a
we didn't talk
better
about
movie.
Pride of the Yankees.
Pride of
I
the
mean,
Yankees, damn Yankees. There's
damn
all
Yankees,
kinds.
yeah.
You go down the line of all of the. Bang the drum slowly.
Shut up. We're not talking about that.
Oh, wait a minute. I haven't heard of this movie.
Watch it.
Robert
Then come
De
back and
Niro.
talk to us.
Robert De Niro.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
What team's
it's
it
a
about?
good movie.
God, it's been so long. I don't even remember.
Can't remember. Good movie.
It's Brian's song.
It is. It is what it is.
Yeah, enough
It's
said.
one of those movies.
Yeah.
It's one of those like. It really is.
it's designed
very,
to be a
that one
tearjerker.
is very comparable to Brian's song.
Yes.
honestly.
But tell us about that, and also we want to hear some of your favorite baseball memories. Do you have ones where you went to a specific game, or you saw a player, or got punched out by the San Diego Chicken? I mean, what happened? Talk to us.
Oh man,
Chase down the Philly Fanatic? I don't know.
yeah.
But
But yeah, baseball. I mean, when this goes live, which is going to be probably the last week of January sometime.
we're a little early.
Yeah, we're a little early, but you know what? Pitchers and catchers report, was it May 1st somewhere or March 1st?
March
so, I
1st.
mean, you're talking a little over a month away, and February is a short month.
Yep.
So, yeah.
It happens in the month of my birth. So
Yes.
there you go.
And Dave's going to be 50 this year.
Shut up.
Actually, after this, I will have completed another turn around the sun when this goes live. So,
Oh, that's right. You've got
Yeah.
one coming up too. I forgot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Our off week. So,
49.
yep.
I'm still the baby here. Anyway,
That's
What year were you born?
76.
yeah.
Oh, he's the same age as my wife.
Yeah, it's 3 years behind you, 2 behind me. So,
All right.
all right. Well, we had fun. Yeah, tell us your favorite baseball stories. Everybody has them.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's you're playing, you're at the park, you watched it on TV, whatever it was. One of my other favorites was watching the 1990 World Series and seeing my Reds sweep the A's.
Shut up.
Nobody thought that was happening. Like, I was like, okay, cool. Never thought it was going to be a sweep.
And I'll be
never thought it was going to
And
be a
I'll
sweep.
be the first to admit when my Cubbies won the World Series,
I watched it.
I bawled like a baby.
Here's the thing about your Cubs, okay? Again, by the time that happened, I did not really watch baseball a whole lot. That was in 2016, correct?
Yep.
I flipped over to catch the final inning of that game because I was like, the Cubs might actually do this. Okay.
Yep.
I kind of felt like I needed to because in 2001, I also watched that whole debacle happen.
The Steve Bartman?
Yes.
Oh,
I
God.
watched that live. I saw all of that happen. And the whole thing about that is that Steve Bartman, okay, fine. But the very next play, they could have gotten out of the inning.
Nope.
And instead, there was a bobble. There was
Nope.
an error.
Nope.
Yep. It is a.
Let's put it this way. I can't stand
It's
the
kind
Cubs.
of. It's kind of
It's
like
the Bill Buckner.
It's kind of like the '80s. Yeah, Bill Buckner didn't cost them. They had a whole other game to blow
Yeah, but
after
it's-
that.
it's
It
hard.
was-
I dislike the Cubs bad enough that I'm thinking about showing up to Wrigley with a goat at some point.
Oh, the goat's been slain, baby. The goat.
I'm thinking about showing up with a new goat.
The goat has been slain.
But yeah, that was-
recursing your team for another 100 years.
that when the Cubs, when it came down to they were an inning away,
Yep.
I was like, I got to turn the TV on and watch this. 'cause
Now, this is what's
I may
gonna-
never see this in my life.
This is what's really going to burn you because we lived in the middle of the state of Illinois. I'm a Bears fan. Before the Predators showed up here, I was a Blackhawks fan.
Oh,
I didn't like
fuck
you for a
you.
reason.
And,
Oh, no.
Well, no.
No.
Now listen, the Preds didn't Preds didn't exist.
I know, but still,
And-
Blackhawks.
Yeah.
Jesus,
Well, I mean, that was the closest hockey
I know.
club, to me. So I became.
Oh yeah, I guess from you where you were. Yeah.
Well, no one was going to root for the St. Louis Blues. Everybody hated that team. It was between the Blues and the Blackhawks. Who were you going to root
yeah,
for?
that's true.
But then I went to St. Louis for my baseball
Oh yeah.
because screw the Cubs.
What's wrong with you?
What about the Red Sox? Or the
Something
White
wrong with
Sox?
you.
You could have gone White Sox.
No.
You had the bad boys.
No,
That's-
no.
But then I've been with the Predators.
What's
since,
his name? Played for them forever. The Big Hurt.
Frank Thomas.
Frank Thomas.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when Thomas was in his prime, that dude was a beast.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
guy's
that
still a
dude-
beast. You've seen his.
I've seen his testosterone commercial.
Yeah, his Nutritics.
Yeah, whatever.
take this pill, boost your testosterone.
You know the problem I have with that? Nutritics sounds a little too close to eugenics.
Yes, exactly.
Get us out of here. Get us out of here.
Go Preds.
So yeah, absolutely, go Preds. A completely different sport. So yeah, thank you again for joining us for another episode of the project. I've been out of this for so long, I can't even do this right any longer. Another episode of the Project Gen X podcast. Again, go to our Discord and tell us your thoughts on this as well as any other things. Any subjects you want to hear.
Come join the madness.
Come join the madness.
We actually
It's a
have
lot of
some
fun.
stuff that people have recommended that we haven't gotten to yet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
are going
once we
to-
get back ramped up.
We're
We're gonna Misso has recommended a couple things. I know that Chad has recommended some
Yep.
things.
I think John even recommended a few.
could have.
We're going to have to hit Chuck.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
that's a must. But anyway,
that's going to be a lot of rewatch though,
Yeah.
because I have not rewatched that
I'm looking forward to it. Actually,
in almost a decade, honestly. So
I think I've got most of
Yeah.
the series on DVD.
great
somewhere.
show. So okay, I'm Alan Smith,
I'm the other guy, Big Dave.
and I'm Barry.
and we will see you next time.
See ya.
Seriously, fuck Kevin McCarthy.
Oh, come on. Really?
Well, now it's the 80s, and Brett is the greatest, and Bobby Bonds can play for everyone. Rose is at the vet, Rusty again is a Met, and the great Alexander is pitching again in Washington. I'm talking baseball, like Reggie Quisenberry, talking baseball. Carew and Gaylord Perry, Seaver, Garvey, Schmidt, and Vida Blue. If Cooperstown is calling, it's no fluke. They'll be with Willie, Mickey, and the Duke. Willie, Mickey, and the Duke. Say